So I was gonna get started, and I think some more people are gonna drop in, and I wasn't gonna keep you guys too long, but I just wanted to go over a few quick things, um, and this will have to do with next week's drawings, and also with this homework that I'll post later today. But I hope you guys are all doing well this morning, and let me show you guys some quick images. Let's see. Let me share the screen. Let's see. One second. Okay. Can you guys see the screen and hear me? Hopefully.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Um, so, and are you guys seeing right now two drawings? Hopefully. So what you should be seeing is two drawings of there's a woman with a cat and another woman playing a stringed instrument. Um, and basically what I wanted to start with was talking about just basically, since we've been working with line, um, that let me see, that this is about contour. So like contour lines are basically anything that's defining the form. And like in these really beautiful drawings of by the Japanese artist Hokusai, um, you see, hey, good morning. Um, you can see this, two different line qualities. This sort of very beautiful thin line where, like in the face and the hair, and then also this thicker, more gestural line, kind of similar to um, some of the gesture drawings we've been working with. So I just kind of wanted, before we even start, to talk about all the different um, types of line, and even these lines are actually used with a brush. Um, that we can use, and how animated they can be. Um, and just quickly, were you guys? Did you guys say you're seeing the two images of two ink drawings? Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm sharing the right image.
Yes,
Yes.
I see
Okay,
Yeah.
two.
great. So different types of line work. These types of lines by, she's an English contemporary artist named Jenny Saville, and these types of lines are probably closer to the lines that we'll be making in our drawings. And when I kind of been talking in a lot of your homework projects about the beauty of like contrasting line weights, like thin and thick lines, her work is a really beautiful example of that, in which it's really just mostly entirely contour lines, but they're really elegant and beautifully stated, and they carry so much weight to them in what they're defining. So as you guys are drawing and thinking about, putting more or less pressure on the page while you're drawing, think of these types of line weights. And also think, as you're drawing, and these are contour lines, that they define the edges, but they also pull into the form as well. So like the line under her chin on the drawing in the right, it sort of comes up and then also sweeps in and cuts through to define the interiors of the form. And so in these similar, slightly different style by another contemporary artist named Kerry James Marshall, who he actually teaches painting at in LA Art School Otis. So he's kind of a local artist and teacher. But you can see in his, like the drawing on the right, is pretty much entirely contour lines, and they're very clean and lucid. And then his portrait on the left, he has the contour lines, but also you can start to see it's not quite shading, but in the hair, those lines that cut across the beautiful kind of big shapes the hair is kind of bundled in, those we start to call cross contour lines, because they literally cut through across the form. So, and in the face as well, there's these really, really nice, nicely defined contour lines on the outside. And then it also on the inside, it's kind of shading, but it also, you'll notice it's following the shape of her face. And those are in a sense sort of cross contour lines as well. Now these are getting more into where the line work has moved almost entirely out from the edges and is really cutting into the interior of these things. So, and these are definitely these really nice elliptical curving lines in the cut tree log on the right. Those are definitely cross contour lines. And so they're like, and you can tell, like, and also on the drawing on the left, they probably don't literally look that way in nature, but the artist is using, they're interpreting what they're interpreting for you, what they're seeing, and exaggerating probably these lines so that you can tell the structure that they're seeing. So start to think about that when we think of cross contour lines, which we'll be working on next. So that is really, contour lines being more of the outside, cross contour. This is actually a nice ink drawing example of how, if you're really, deeply focusing on what you're drawing, you can get into really beautiful, small details, like in something as simple as an apple. So even in a portrait, obviously, none of us have these lines on our faces, but at the same time, they make sense because they're defining for us the shapes and the forms of the portrait. Or, something like a bell pepper, which is, a really actually beautiful, intricate form. So think of, these lines that, or in this case, are not naturalistic at all. This is almost like a mountain range, like a topographical map of this face. But this is a kind of it's sort of a more creative example. But it's a really nice sort of way of seeing how you can use line to create form and really, define what we're seeing. And then also, remember with these lines, you were like, obviously, again, like these lines don't exist really as you see them, but remember, as you're doing them, you're kind of mapping this object for us. So think of your viewer when you're going to be doing these drawings later, for homework, in that you're kind of, with this type of drawing, you're like a translator showing somebody, mapping out the shapes of this form that you're looking at. So it's a little bit less naturalistic. Even in this, I really like this. It's such a, a small everyday detail of like the top of a bottle, but it's really beautifully drawn. And you can see the variation in these contour lines that run up and then run across and circle the object. So, think of, like, since we work so much on still lives, that still lives, they're everyday objects, but depending on how you handle them, they can become really monumental and exciting drawings, even if it's just a small detail of something like a jug. But I wanted to show you quickly a quick sort of demonstration of a couple different ways of just loosely sketching, like an object with cross contour lines, and just for a couple minutes. And, for example, this head of garlic here, you see, like, it has, like, some objects like garlic or onions, when you're drawing them, they already have natural kind of cross contour lines in the skin of them that you can see and are useful. So that's the first one. And then the second one, like this toy, dinosaur, it has big, full volumes, but when you draw it, you would have to interpret where those cross contour lines are. So it's kind of, there are two different ways of approaching it. Some things that already have contours, and then things that you have to interpret for your viewer. So let me quickly show you, share with you the screen. Let's see. And let me transfer this over. Still two. So hopefully, are you guys seeing, two, can you guys hear me? And do you see a screen with pencil drawing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So just quickly, this is a sped up drawing, but like this is a good example. I'm kind of starting with, when you're sketching, very loose, like what I'm doing is those organizational lines that I was talking about, where I'm looking, this is drawing, kind of blocking in that head of garlic. And the head of garlic I was drawing, it's basically the height and width of it is more or less the same. And now I'm cutting in and using angles to kind of find the edges of the object. And now I'm laying in contour lines over that. And you'll notice I'm kind of trying to alternate the pressure I put on the paper. And I'm just, looking intently at all of the shifts in the edges of the head of garlic. And now I'm kind of pulling, I'll start to pull those contour lines into the object. And so that it's exploring the inside of it. And those lines will show me how to pull the cross contour lines into the center of the object. And also, like you'll notice, I was sort of whisking away some of the erasures with a little like chip brush, which I recommend if you have just a cheap brush laying around, using that, because it keeps you from, because my hands get oily and I smudge the drawings all the time. But like those contour lines, I'm moving in, and those are going to define really the interior and the volume of the object. And I sort of stopped just since this is a quick demo, but you can go on with this for some time, building up the detail of those line work, the line work. And now quickly, let me show you the second one quickly. And let me see. So this one, I'm just quickly, this is just a quick example of when you're drawing something that doesn't have obvious cross contour lines in it, like this toy dinosaur, but I'm doing the same thing quickly. I'm looking at the height versus the width of it and just drawing very loose lines. And now I'm starting to feel my way kind of around with those contour lines, the soft contour lines, and take as much time as you need when you're doing that, but keep pretty loose. But that sort of, those organizational lines just give you a good starting place as to where it's going to fit. Even and if it goes outside naturally, then let it. Don't let those organizational lines sort of confine the drawing, but just use it as an armature. And then that was going from a 2H pencil, and now with an HB pencil, I'm cutting in with sharper contour lines, but they're still alternating between, which sort of is good with the overhand grip. It gives you a good way to switch very quickly between, sharp and more fuzzy lines. And also, when you look at like the edge of, for example, this, the edge of the left leg, that the curves of that are going to be a good indicator of where to put those cross contour lines inside. So I'm starting to then sort of using those outside contour lines to mimic and find where I can start laying down the cross contours. And let's see. And I'm pulling them both across the sort of roundness of the leg and the form, both vertically and horizontally. Don't overthink it. That's the thing, is work, even though you're doing this pretty intuitively still, and just don't question yourself too much. Just look and kind of record what you're seeing and don't get in your own way too much. And you can make these either very sharp, or mine are pretty fuzzy, but you can, there's all sorts of different ways of making cross contours. But like in some of the drawings, they are, let's see, but in some of the drawings, they are, very sharp, and then others they're, right in the sun here, sorry. And then others they're more kind of loose. But does anyone have any questions so far about what I was talking about? Ooh, getting blasted with sun here, sorry. What I was talking about with the cross contour lines for anybody. Let's see, move out of the shade here. But basically, I just kind of, because we haven't had a chance to talk much about just things like contour and cross contour, and that's going to be really, I'm going to post some homework that we do next week sometime, just a small sketchbook project that has to do with, developing these type of ways of looking at what you're drawing. So basically it's that's pretty much what I wanted to touch base with you guys on, was that, any kind of, as you're defining the drawing, with the edges particularly, we'd call that a contour, the contour drawing. And then any kind of line that explores in over the form and shows you the volume of it, we'd call that a, cross contour drawing. So your drawings will be, contain both of those in this next homework assignment. And like I said, I'll open that, later today, and you guys can take a look at it. And then I'll also, this weekend, I'll open, next week's chapter. And next week's drawing is going to be a very long one, so it won't be due for a while. But it's going to be sort of a staged one where you start the drawing, and then halfway through you kind of send me an in progress of the drawing in progress, and then I give you feedback, and then you keep working on the drawing. So it's sort of, because normally in class, we would have a one-on-one, and we discuss, how the drawing's going, and then, you would keep working, and then we talk again. So that'll be more next week. Next week there'll be some short sketchbook assignments, and then there'll be a really longer drawing that'll probably take you about 2 weeks altogether. That's going to involve, what we've covered so far, and then after that, we're going to move into tone and value systems and way of describing light and shadow in drawings. But so do you guys have any questions about anything, or even like any supply issues or anything you're having trouble with? You can, even on the chat, or you can just email me as usual. And I've been trying to get your homework, comments on your homework as much as as soon as I can. And I'll get into some more of those this weekend as well. So let's see. Any questions from you guys? But
No, I don't have any questions.
Sorry?
I said, no, I don't have any questions. You've been doing a good job.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, listen, I just wanted to, thank you for attending. And I just wanted to, I think, because it was, some of these things are more clearly stated in person. So think of those, especially like the two things I'd stress is when you're doing contour lines, and you guys have been doing a good job of this, like the power of the sensitivity you have to the pressure you put on the paper, and also how much weight those the line weight can carry. And then also when you get started on the cross contours, it can be a little awkward, but think of it in terms, like the way it was always described to me, that always is a good way to think of it, is like a cross contour line is like basically like if the tip of your pencil is an ant that's kind of crawling across the surface of the form, and it's sort of leaving a trail. So think of those in those terms. And then I will open, I'll open the homework module later this afternoon, and you can take a look. But it'll be a sketchbook homework assignment that has to do with the cross contour. So, and then also there's I'm going to also put up a discussion for you guys. That's a contemporary artist named Hugo Crosthwaite, who's a contemporary. He works exclusively in drawing. So I'd like you guys to realize how many contemporary artists are out there working in drawing and showing in museums and galleries that are actually really extraordinary artists. So I will put that up as well, and then I'd like you guys to comment over the next week or so. So thank you guys for coming at this early hour of this rainy morning. And again, I'm always checking my mail, so let me know what questions you have, and and I will talk to you guys soon, hopefully. Okay.
All right, thank you. Well, have a great day.
Thank you guys. You guys have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.